And good morning. Welcome to Things You Might Not Have Heard for today. My name is Jay Cleveland Payne, and bear with us as we're a little bit behind. Had a little bit of issue trying to get the whole thing started. Had a little fun with fonts yesterday and decided to play around with some of the stuff. And now what we're seeing is sometimes the conversions don't work out. So thank you for being along for the ride. You're going to see some new things that you're going to probably unsee tomorrow if you're watching the video. That's all we're going to get into that. If you're watching the audio or listening to audio, none of this makes any sense. So just sit back, relax, and take in the 8 stories we have for today. Now, you saw our teaser graphic, and you may have asked, who is that dude? We will tell you who that dude is right now and why he may not actually matter in the grand scheme of things, plus 7 other stories that were vetted by you as conversational stories throughout the day by going to our feeds on Facebook and Twitter and telling us what stories were conversational. We'll go deeper into all that, but the basic part of that is follow us on Facebook and Twitter, engage in the stories, and we'll tell you how we actually vote up the stories and get them picked for this. We're going to get into that right now. Make sure you stop by our main website, which is thisisaconversationproject.com. Thisisaconversationproject.com for all the other stuff going on. So, with all that said, let's get into the fun stuff. Well, we'll get to the fun stuff after these stories and headlines and sales stuff. Let's get into the actual headlines for today. It happens to be on this day, Thursday, June 8th, 2023. If you're watching the video, don't get used to the new graphics because we found out they don't fit well. So we'll have to adjust them a bit. So hang on tight for that one. Now, let's get into the actual meat of the potatoes. That made no sense. The actual storylines for what we have for this morning. Starting off with not that. We'll talk about that in a minute. But let's talk about the first story we have. The headline reads, Prosecutors ready to ask Trump for indictment on obstruction on Espionage Act charge. Now, this is dealing with a whole lot of stuff. This gets really, really crazy and really, really, really detailed way faster than it needs to be. So bear with me. The Justice Department is preparing to indict former President Trump for violating the Espionage Act and obstruction of justice. Prosecutors are ready to ask grand jurors to approve an indictment against Mr. Trump for violating Section 793 of the U.S. Criminal Code. This is a strategic decision to short-circuit his ability to claim that he declassifies documents. That's the whole, I took him to Mar-a-Lago and magically they were declassified sort of stuff. Mr. Trump could be punished by 10 years in prison for knowingly commuting, delivering, transmitting, or causing to be communicated, delivered, or transmitted, and attempted to communicate, deliver, or transmit it, or causing to be communicated any document related to a national defense. Essentially, if he hands over information to somebody that shouldn't have it, he can go to jail for 10 years. Now, Trump says he's not been indicted. No one's told him about this. No one said what's going on. He's just playing golf with the live guys. Nothing's happening. So no big deal. Fake news, witch hunt, blah, 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 blah. Right now, it looks like it's really going to happen, that there will be something dealing with the documents case and what's going on. There's a couple other cases floating around. Of course, E. Jean Carroll is suing him again, but we will see how this one plays out, as this is one of 4, technically 5 things that Donald Trump is dealing with as he's actually trying to run for president again. Next story. Headline reads like this. Jay Johnston of Bob's Burgers arrested for Capitol riot. You may not know the name, but if you are a fan of Bob's Burger, you may know the voice. One of the characters from Bob's Burger, Jay Johnston, was arrested Wednesday on suspicion of participating in the January 6th attack United States Capitol. He's accused of causing a civil disorder, unlawful entering and restricted area, and impeding passage through Capitol grounds. Now, how is he allegedly doing this? Because they have videotape and pictures of him at the Capitol wandering around during the January 6th. It's really, really hard not to find somebody when you're kind of famous to some folks. And of course, your pictures out there wandering around on TV doing stuff. He's done a couple of things. You've seen him in Arrested Development, also in Anchorman. He'll have his first court appearance was yesterday, so he's going to, do the trial thing and go through whatever. But a famous person, a kind of famous person, Jay Johnston of Bob's Burgers, you may not know the name now, but you'll know it soon, is now dealing with his own indictment, his own arresting, his own issues from the January 6th riot, which he was apparently a part of. So let's go back to our teaser graphic if you watch the video and you see that guy. That guy happens to be North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum. He launched his 2024 GOP campaign on yesterday, doing like stuff they all do. He put out a video, he talked to some folks, he did whatever, and he's going to put North Dakota on the map, and hopefully himself. Now, yesterday was also the day that Chris Christie put his name in the ring, so he's out there officially fighting against Donald Trump. but he says he thinks he can win. Chris Sununu, who was another governor, should say, decided he didn't want to be a part of this stuff because he doesn't actually want to be president. He kind of wants to be like his dad, John, just sort of be in the orbits. And that's what we think Doug Burgum wants to be. Doug Burgum may not be a household name and may govern a relatively small state with its population, a lot of land there. But Doug Burgum is a rising up-and-coming person in the GOP, and he might be trying to use this time to raise his profile because why not now? Why not me? He had no chance of winning, more or less, for anybody other than Trump and DeSantis, and maybe not even them, depending on what happens. But we will see how Doug Burgum, B-U-R-G-U-M, get his name right, put some respect on his name, is going to do in the primaries and going forward. The biggest question about these things are, there's a lot of folks running because, a lot of people want to get that name recognition, but it costs a lot of money to be in the race, even though you basically just say it and just sort of, do YouTube videos of what's going on. It costs a lot of money. The biggest thing is who runs out of money by the end of this year and who makes it to middle of next year when we're actually preparing to run for the actual elections. Coca-Cola has released a limited edition League of Legends flavor, and that's with the O-U-R because we pulled it from a British blog, that tastes like XP. What does XP taste like? Well, you get a chance to taste it if you're in US, Canada, China, South Korea, Latin America, or Africa. Pretty much almost everywhere. The limited edition cans of this Coca-Cola has a new flavor, Coca-Cola Ultimate for gamers. It gives players XP and enhances their gameplay experiences. Essentially, it's a one-up in your actual drink. It's supposed to give you, life, if you will. It's probably just an extra jolt of caffeine, probably just Jolt Cola rebranded. But if you get some, take a sip, tell us how it is, and see how it goes. Not a fan of League of Legends. Just not, but I like the marketing, I like the gimmick, I like the thought process of it. So it doesn't taste like loser tears, it tastes like pure experience points. Get some while you can. So if you're going to watch a basketball game or a baseball game in the New York area yesterday, you can blame Canada for the cancellation. Literally, MLB, WNBA postponed games due to smoke from Canadian wildfires. Now, smoke from the wildfires canceled the game on the inside of a building and on the outside because it was just way too bad with the gaseous smokes out there. Now, what they're dealing with in New York is very serious. No joke, no joking about this. The smoke coming from Canada, from the Canadian wildfires, where much of fire is going on very early in the fire season, is causing issues for people just in general breathing. You saw the pictures of the skyline. People basically saying it looked like Dune in New York City. There's issues with the breathing where people are back to wearing their medical masks. They're wearing the KN95s, which are actually more effective because they actually stop particles. Breathing the smoke is actually extremely dangerous. The smoke particles, particles of smoke inside of the smoke, particles inside of that fire smoke, can actually get into your lungs because it's in the air and get into your bloodstream. You can breathe in actual pieces of soot, if you will, into your blood, and that's a bad thing. So people are told to stay indoors. There have been schools canceled. There have been plenty of other performances canceled. And like we said, they're canceling actual sporting events that cost lots of money because of the wildfires. The biggest question is, when will there be relief? The answer to that question is probably not soon enough. So last year, Pete Davidson and Colin Jost of Saturday Night Live fame bought a ferry off Staten Island. Headline for this story is, Pete Davidson regrets buying $280,000 Staten Island ferry, was stoned. And that's the story. They bought a boat, they bought a ferry. They were pretty high at the time. They have no idea what's going on with the boat because it's just basically money spent on something that they don't deal with. That's the story. That's pretty much it. Moving on. Just when the Bills are starting to become a premier team in NFL, now they're dealing with something that may cause all that to go awry. Bills quarterback Josh Allen on Madden NFL 24 video game cover, so the curse is now on Josh Allen, or may be on Josh Allen. Didn't do so badly for that Mr. Mahomes guy. He did, sprain his ankle, but he seems to be playing fairly well for the most part. But Josh Allen, the QB for the Buffalo Bills, bad Mama Jamma, is doing his best to be the best, and he's going to be the cover man for the Madden game coming for 2024. So past additions include, in the recent years, Brady and Mahomes actually were on the 22 edition. It was a double edition. Lamar Jackson was on 21, Mahomes was on 20 by himself, and Brady by himself on 18. So pretty good quarterbacks, doing pretty good stuff, winning some stuff. Lamar Jackson, the only one of that batch who has not won anything, but basically it's all Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, the same guy. Allen started last season as a 92 overall and got to as high as 96 in his Madden rating. There you go, before finishing at 93 after all the updates going back and forth. So there you go. That score got him the tops of Madden, and he's on the cover. We'll see if the Bills can actually pull this thing off this year. They're doing very well, but we know what happened. The last couple of times they made it that far, what happened? Over and over again. Let's wrap it up with a little bit more gaming for the nerds out there for you. Pokemon tournament canceled after all 4 finalists staged a protest using a single 0 damage move. What happened in this massive Pokemon tournament happening in South Korea? Well, the organizers had to basically call it off when all 4 players essentially played cards that moved on or used what's known as the metronome move, which is illegal in this tournament. It's basically a powerful move that basically causes no damage and nothing happens. Literally nothing happens, and it slows things down to a fault. And all 4 players started to play in that very interesting way of play. So why did this happen? Essentially, the players were protesting the poor conditions of the tournament. The tournament it was just crap. The whole thing was bad, and so they protested by getting to the finals and deciding they were going to play a game that was going to cause no damage and essentially sit there for hours just sulking over it. Despite the fact that it, of course, killed the tournament, many people online said they did the right things by doing their protest. And we'll say it's a basically peaceful protest. So that's how that happened. Not exactly the biggest story in the world, not exactly the most interesting story in the world, but if your kid still loves some Pokemon, or if you're like my kid who's 30 and still loves Pokemon, this is a thing that, will get their attention and be interesting to them. It's just a bigger topic because sometimes it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about them. This is a story for the them. And this next story, if I did it right, is a headline we can talk about. This one is for me. I will tell you, this is for me. So if you are a fan of us, you can be a part of the show by following us on our feeds and telling us what to talk about, literally picking the stories that we do. We pull from Tuesday through Friday the top 15 stories from the past 30 hours, and we'll pull 8 of those to give to you, which we just did right now. On Monday, we give you Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and a little bit of Monday, and we pick 30 stories and take 10 from those and give you the top headlines. We call them the most information, conversational, yada, yada, yada. You do that by going to Facebook and Twitter. Facebook.com/This Is a Conversation Project and Twitter.com/th_conversation. And you just engage in the stories. Simply click the little smiley faces or the hearts. And the more engagement the story gets, the better chance we get a chance to talk about it on the next day. This one for Thursday to talk about for Friday morning. Tucker Carlson's Twitter launch clocks tens of millions of views, but far, far fewer actual engagement. Twitter launched the Tucker Carlson show, or Tucker Carlson launched his Twitter show. Either way you want to say that, they're both more or less grammatically correct. Essentially yesterday. I missed it because I guess I was watching Mike Pence because he's such a glamorous guy. Or actually watching the game and ignoring Mike Pence, something like that. But what happened was, Twitter gives you a lot of views. I can attest to this. We post this on Twitter. We usually don't promote that it's posted on Twitter, but it's there for the engagement purposes. It gets lots of people popping into it for views, but the engagement there is a bit lacking. People wonder about Tucker Carlson saying, I'm moving to Twitter. People wonder about Ron DeSantis doing his announcement on Twitter. People wonder about Twitter all the time. When people used to say it was such an important thing, and now they say, it's not that important. It's sort of a toss-up on which is which. We'll go deeper into the story if you choose to. Way deep so far, but Twitter opening for Tucker Carlson. Lots of people who apparently viewed it, per the internet, but not a lot of engagement of people being attached to it. Facebook.com/This Is a Conversation Project and Twitter.com/th_conversation. If you want to chat it up for tomorrow, let me know you want to chat it up for tomorrow. Let's hit the right button and go over there. And now we're going to talk about Zenni Optical. Zenni Optical is a glasses store that's online, period. It's a glasses store that's online that offers great glasses. Add to that, plus great glasses at a great price. And great glasses, great price, great service. What else do you need to know? Not very much. Check them out. I am wearing my Zenni optical frames that I've been buying, the same frame over and over for a decade. Different lenses as my eyes have progressively gotten worse. And yes, I've talked about optometrists, and we will have the bifocals discussion. And when I go there, I will get them from Zenni Optical because they cost less. These frames, when I originally bought them, were $6.95. They're not all that fancy. They're extremely basic, but they work. They sit on my face, and they do what they do. Hold the lenses in front of my eye so I can see. If all you're looking for is great glasses, they have them. By the way, they have more than just great glasses. They have great looking glasses and great functioning glasses that will have blue blocker technology for people who look at screens all day, have the transitions like technology for people who need things turned into sunglasses, super strong frames and lenses for people who need them for sports goggles, and cool ones for the kids as well. Check them out at thisistheconversationproject.com/Zenni, Zenni. This, theconversationproject.com/Zenni for Zenni Optical, and see if they can take good care of you. This is an affiliate link, so if they take care of you, we get taken care of just slightly. We get a slight little cut from your buy, but it costs you nothing extra, and it's going to save you money in the long run. Check them out at Zenni Optical. Moving on to more chatter about me or us or this conversation project at thisistheconversationproject.com, the website home online for the Conversation Project, where you can find out more about the things we produce. Now, we have this 5-day-a-week things you might not have heard, which is the news updates for the morning. We have the weekend where we tell you kind of, how things actually worked out. We give you the top 10 stories, plus a few extras for some context of what actually played out over the week with the top stories in general, how things actually played out for your week. And then we give you one commentary. Well, I give you commentary on one of those top stories on the story of the week. We also have little things here there going on, so it's a lot going on as a part of a lot of things I produce for More Better Media. If you think this part of More Better Media, the Conversation Project, is worthy of stuff, we ask for your help. Stop by our sponsors page or stop by our partnerships page at our website and buy something from our sponsors. That takes care of you and us, and see if you want to directly partner up with us, keep things going here. We can use a little help, a little work, somebody who can do the graphics, and so I don't find out, 5 minutes before we're going to air that they don't fit. Things like that. It's a lot of work to do this newscast. I love it, and I'll do it I'm basically doing it because I want to get better news than what I'm seeing out there on the mainstream. The mix of news is terrible, so we try to get a better mix of news, and we try to involve you in that mix. So if you think that's a good thing, consider partnering up to help us do more of it. And now, I promise fun stuff. Let's do fun stuff. And as I said, if you're watching the video, don't get too used to these graphics. They're a little weird. We're going to work on that because they didn't quite fit, so we had to rush to get them into the thing. So today, things you might have heard, starting off with the birthdays for today. And happy birthdays wishes going out to Bonnie Tyler, who tells you to turn around. 72 years old on the day. Bright eyes, go ahead and turn around. Scott Adams, the Dilbert guy, is 66 years old today. He's still doing the Dilbert thing, I guess. He's also still doing the mad Republican thing. That's definitely happening. And he's still pissing off a lot of people on both sides of the aisle in politics by saying what he means and what he feels and what he thinks is the truth, which is fine, but he's also being a complete jerk about it, which is, I guess, fine if you want to get canceled, which he essentially has happened. But we're going to celebrate his birthday at 66 years old today. Somebody doing essentially the same thing, once a genius, now an outcast. Kanye West, Yeezy, is 46 years old on the day. Remember back in the days when he was just a tortured genius, essentially, of music, and no one understood him. And then people started listening to the words coming out of his mouth, and then we kind of understood him and realized either he is crazy, or he's insane, or he's really, really, really stupid, or he's insane, or there's something wrong with him, or he's insane. Either way, Kanye has issues, and we love him, but we can love him from afar while he's hopefully getting some help. 46 years old on the day today. Happy birthday to Ye, and hopefully things are getting better in Ye's world. Now, going back in history on this day, the 8th of June, back in 1953, the Supreme Court ruled that restaurants in the District of Columbia could not refuse to serve blacks. You may remember a time, or you may not because you're not quite old enough, that there was a time when separate but equal was kind of a thing, where people who are of a color, like mine, could not go to regular places because they were a color like mine. The Supreme Court said that that was illegal for restaurants in the District of Columbia, and it turned into a big old thing across the South as sit-ins happened all over the place. Now we're doing much better. Now people like me, of a color like me, can go essentially anywhere they want to, except where they can't. In 1968, James Earl Ray was arrested for the murder of Martin Luther King Jr. Now, if you are a person who tends to believe in conspiracies, you may believe that James Earl Ray wasn't actually the guy who did it, or that he may have done it, but he may have been assisted. And we're going to toss it out there right there. Now, we celebrate the day, if you will, as a day of memorial. We go back and we look at the loss of Dr. King, just in general, based on the day. And a lot of times, and you see this a lot, oddly enough, in kind of the alternative fictions of things, we sort of romanticize who he was and what he was, and think about what things could have been like today if he were still here. Obviously, we don't really know how it could be because you can't go back in time and see that, but we do think of time what happened. So 1968 was when we lost Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a very great man from all sides will attest to that, but some people from some sides sort of cherry pick the words he says. And with that, in 2008, U.S. average price per gallon of regular gas topped $4 for the first time in 2008. I still remember gas under $2, and I'm only 50 years old. So it wasn't that long ago when it was, cheaper. It was probably much cheaper than that I can't remember as a kid because, I was a kid. But I remember $2 gas and freaking out when it got to like $2.20. It being something. $4 gas was an issue now. Now it's back in the, I'd say I remember $2. It's $2 gas now. I remember gas under $2, I should say, like $1.50 a gallon gas. I should say it that way, not $2 gas, because it does get close to $2.50 or so nowadays with regulation. That was, I'm not sure what it was like in the 70s because I wasn't there in the gas prices. I'm sure it was probably $3 when it should have been there. I'm going to stop talking about things I don't know and talk about something I actually do know. On June 8th, today, celebrate with jelly-filled donuts on jelly-filled donut days. Now, I am kind of starting a new diet, so I'm not sure I can actually celebrate with you. I may not be able to see this mountaintop with you, but you can go to the mountaintop of jelly-filled donuts and enjoy it for yourself. I will be there in spirit. I may, get some dust off the box of donuts, but I've got to work on my new diet. I've got to stay in the healthy stuff, so I may not be able to fill this one out with you. But have fun eating jelly donuts today. Just don't eat them in front of me, please. Thank you. And one more thing you might not have heard. Psychologists say we're afraid of Sundays. Sunday scaries is an anxious feeling of dread many of us experience the night before work week starts or following a long holiday weekend. Psychologist Dr. Matthew Lorber said that, quote, transition from weekend to work week tends to be too abrupt for people who don't give themselves enough time off. Some people will report headaches or nausea. There are legitimate physical reactions to the stress and anxiety, unquote. A global poll conducted a few years ago by career website Monster.com found that 76% of adults in the U.S. report having really bad Sunday night blues compared to only 47% of people in other parts of the world. So the Sunday scaries is a us thing because we work too much, I guess. But it really is a thing for people, dreading going to work on Mondays that can turn into physical, emotional, mental stress because we can stress ourselves out for these things. Don't stress yourself out for the rest of the day. We still have one more great day or 2 great days of this work week. Today is Thursday, June the 8th, 2023, and we think we're going to have a great day. I didn't get my coffee made today, so we're short on that, but we're going to ask you to still stay hydrated with the water bottle that's next to me and stay focused and stay on task for all the grand things we need you here for tomorrow and next week and all those things going forward. Thank you for joining us for this broadcast, whether you're watching it live in the video feed or listening to the audio replay in the podcast later. We are glad to provide you a good start for news for the morning. If you need more of it, you should probably just stop by our feeds and see the stories that you kind of missed and see if you can get them into the headlines for the next day. Go to Facebook and Twitter and find our feeds. So go to our website, thisistheconversationproject.com, for more information about those things and more information about what we do 6 days a week in the publishing. Actually, 7 days. So we publish some TikToks and things on Sunday as well. So we do publish something 7 days a week. In the meantime, thank you so much for being with us in this intercation. Follow me on the internets. Email me at jclevelandpayne@gmail.com or the conversation inbox at gmail.com for directly conversation project stuff. J. Cleveland Payne signing out for the day. Let's do this one more time with Van Glorious effort on tomorrow.